Hi there, it's Jennifer Hough. Welcome to our Facebook Live for this afternoon. So excited to be here. You know, we were doing messages from Mount Shasta, and those messages from Mount Shasta were because such amazing things were happening on our retreat with our flight school people. And it was just too juicy not to share. So I thought we might share some messages, but as it turns out, Mount Shasta has some pretty serious energetics going on. So we're sharing now from home the same messages that we were going to share from Mount Shasta. We're still in the mountains, I promise you. Here, have a look. This is where I live, overlooking Pisgah Mountain in North Carolina. So here we go. So, first of all, I wanted to share a little bit about the subject. Who are we and why are we here? Let's get right to it. I'd love for you to write down, actually, just put in the comments why you think we're here, what your perception is, why human beings even exist. For me, it's so clear after working with thousands of people around the world. We all think we're here to ascend, or there's some people that think we're here to fix ourselves or to break karma, or to, there's so many reasons why we've perceived that we're in a body on a planet. But in the end, sometimes the truth is hiding in plain sight. I'm sure you've heard a million times that we're creator consciousness in a human body, or that we're spirit living through physical or apparatus, or that it's a soul living through a meat suit, or whatever it is that you've heard. But the closest, the hint, the clue is in the creator consciousness perception. Because if we are creator consciousness, what that means is we're a creative consciousness that creates upon what already exists. The purpose of our life is to create upon a creation. Now, don't just stay with me. A lot of the stuff that we say is a little bit tree shaking for a lot of people because they've spent their whole life trying to fix themselves or try to complete their karmic journey or do all these things. And our work here is really to build bridges to deeper truths so that people can be free to get on with their reason why they're on the planet. So here's the deal. Over tens of thousands of people that we've worked with, especially after this beautiful trip to Mount Shasta, it just keeps piling on the evidence that we're not here we're distracted when we're analyzing ourselves. We're distracted when we're judging others. We're distracted from our real purpose. How we know is that, just go with me for a second. I'm going to ask a series of questions that will help to build a brain bridge, and then we'll get to why it's so important to become your own guru and what that actually means. So let's build some brain bridges here. Some of the most important work we can do is change our biochemistry and change the informational photons or packages of light that go out into consciousness and to other people who receive them. It's how intuition and instinct happens. We emanate information about ourselves, and other people and trees and consciousness picks up on it. If you can change the default information you give off into consciousness, you actually change what consciousness sends back, which means that in an instant you can actually change the level of prosperity, the level of love, the level of whatever it is that you desire that you receive. So we're going to build a couple of brain bridges here if you want to stick around. And these brain bridges are to help us come to the deeper reality that we're actually not here to fix, to judge, to improve, we're not here to do anything related to trying to fix that which is not broken, which is you. So let's go on this brain bridge journey. The first question I have to ask you is this. How do you know you're in the groove with consciousness? How do you know you're in the groove with consciousness? Well, what consciousness gave us is the ability to feel whether we're contracting or expanding. When we're expanding, we're in the same groove with consciousness because consciousness is constantly expanding. How you know you're aligned to that which creates is you're feeling the same way that consciousness exists, which is expansive, filled with possibility. So when you're in alignment, you're filled with possibility. The next thing is, when do you know you're most in alignment with consciousness? Well, take a look. You're likely most in alignment with consciousness when you're using your creative superpowers, when you're painting, creating, going on a walk in nature, doing something that actually broadens your awareness or that has you dive down a wormhole of creativity that has you not want to sleep. I'm sure we've all felt that at least once in our lives. When your baby was born, if you're a painter, you know about it. If you teach programs and you bring through information, you know about it. If you love flowers and you love gardening, you know about it. That feeling that you feel when you're standing on top of a mountain, right? So that feeling is the feeling of expansiveness, but everyone can create. What distracts us from creation? Well, oftentimes when we're worried about the future, when we're worried about someone we love, when we are judging ourselves, when we're judging another, when we're struggling to get answers, when, we act as though, I'm going to summarize all of those things, when we act as though we're alone, when we forget that we're more than 3D. Now, let me full circle back. First of all, how do we know we're more than 3D? Well, because it's very scientific. We're made of cells, which are made of molecules, which are made of atoms. Atoms are made of protons, neutrons, electrons. Between those electrons, for instance, is basically space. And that space, depending on which physicist you ask, comprises of 90% what they call dark matter. Well, when you look at the space between the atoms or the fabric of the universe, it's constructed of 90% dark matter. In other words, dark matter really means scientists don't know what it is. What I say is that it's pure potential. It's the space between what's already landed in reality. So we're mostly made of pure potential. Just think of it. We are mostly, thanks Jerry, hi Marie, we're mostly made of pure potential. If we're mostly made of the pure potential dark matter that has not yet landed in 3D, and we're known intuitively as creator consciousness in a human body, doesn't it make sense that the purpose of life is to create, since most of what we're made of is the potential of what could be? Isn't that interesting? So the next piece of this is, why does that tie into you becoming your own guru? Why does it tie into the importance of you being your piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth? And how do we even know that? Well, I can tell you that from Mount Shasta, we had an incredible discussion, and Marie will remember this one. We had an incredible discussion in flight school around this idea that each of us, I've said it many times, each of us is a piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth, and we're all in the heaven on earth construction crew. That means if you're listening right now, I know for sure you're on the heaven on earth construction crew. Yay! And hi, Anne. Hi, Georgie. So if we're all on the heaven on earth construction crew, what happens in consciousness? Why are we born when we're born? Why does our spirit come through our body in that moment? Why wasn't another species invented, or another blade of grass, or another speck of sand, or another starburst? Well, the reason is because consciousness, and look and see if you know this to be true. Do you believe that there's something that creates everything, that's in and of everything, that runs through everything? Do you know that actually it's omnipotent and omniscient? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It doesn't really matter. Just have the conversation for the conversation's sake. And imagine that it is omnipotent and omniscient. We don't have to call it God, or we don't have to call it the universe. It just doesn't matter. But imagine that pure potential is in and of everything and decided in an instant, based on what's going on with civilization, that the idea of you is a good idea, that you were literally chosen at that time to those parents for a very good idea. In fact, it's based on every other lifetime that you ever lived, and that all of the skill sets that you developed in those other lifetimes, the natural propensities, the skill sets, the things that you came in just having a natural, kind of skill for. Well, the reason why you were born is because that which you take for granted, that all your friends say you're amazing at as a person, you're amazing at being that particular way of being and those natural propensities are your piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth. And one of the distractions that humanity has made up is that you have to be all things to all people. You have to fulfill identities. You have to, in order to be a good person or to fit in. Fitting in is not what your piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth is. By your design, you were born to follow that intuitive, instinctual calling that something more is happening here, that you're something more, that you're up to something more. That little voice can become eventually the entire way you live. And it regularly occurs to me in our work that little calling is not such a little calling. It weaves its way and breaks its way through the cracks of least resistance, through all your identities. It's so loud that it makes its way through all your shoulds, musts, rules, regulations, have-tos. It kind of finds its way through all the density of what society has taught you, and you still feel and hear with your cells this faint whisper. That faint whisper is actually the voice of consciousness, and it will never leave you until you fulfill on it. And it's your piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth. And as we were in Mount Shasta, it became imminently clear that as we each become our pieces of the puzzle, as we each blossom into that and shed away, we awaken to that which we truly are. What happens is anything we aren't burns off. So instead of distracting ourselves by analyzing all these things we are not, and by trying to fix that which isn't even broken, we're distracting ourselves from actually activating the truth of who we are, which is all the work that we do and Get Out of Your Own Way and monthly wake-up calls and everything we do. So that piece of the puzzle, and in this case, flight school in Mount Shasta. So that piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth that you are calls you constantly. It never lies. And how it ties into the fact that your creator consciousness, the purpose of life is to create, is that all of creation decided that civilization was an amazing idea because little pinpoint creators in 3D got to land things from pure possibility into this three-dimensional reality with all these incredible abilities that we haven't even barely tapped yet because we've been too busy trying to survive and trying to fix ourselves. What if we could just get on with getting on with it? What if we could? What if we're biologically wired to create upon creation? What if the reason it feels so uncomfortable to survive is because the built-in redirection mechanism is if you feel bad or constrained, you're not following the path of consciousness. If you feel constricted, it's because you're not in alignment with the entire universe. You're not in alignment with the piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth that you are. What if it's a clue? What if consciousness is constantly speaking to us and saying, come over here. You have superpowers you don't even know. And as you have the courage to be the creative spirit that you are, and all it takes, you guys, is sometimes 5 minutes doing a smiley face on a pancake. Sometimes all it takes is buying a gift for the cashier you always see at the grocery store. Sometimes all it takes is making a heart out of stones on the walking trail and putting underneath it, this means you, so that everyone that comes by the rest of the day is affected. All it takes is acts of creativity to tap into your expansive nature. to become, because as I'm saying this, you can feel that you could do it every day. So just small little clues. I mean, there are ways of embodying all of this, but these are small little clues for you that you're being redirected. The feeling of constriction means that you're not following the path that you were designed to. And when you do, everything starts coming to you. Everything, as long as you have the support mechanism around you, and as long as you're doing the work. And the work is not fixing. The work is activating the truth of who you are. So that's what I wanted to share today. And I also wanted to let you know that along those lines, exactly what we just talked about is exactly what we'll be talking about, in our coming up monthly wake-up call. That monthly wake-up call, just so you know, is coming up on, let me just get the date for you. It's called The Nature of Our DNA and Why Human Beings Are So Special. And we'll talk about our superpowers and how to access them. That will be, you can sign up for that. It's only $33. We do them monthly. It's at wideawakening.com, wideawakening.com/monthly wake-up call. And you can register for this month's monthly wake-up call, or you can join for a year if you like. It's next Thursday. It's the second Thursday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That would be 5 p.m. Pacific, really late in Europe, but you can always purchase the replays. So guys, we're going to talk about our galactic fairy tale on that monthly wake-up call. I hope you join us. And in the meantime, I'd love it if you could make some comments below on what you got from this conversation, or what you got from us talking together today, what you got from the bridges we built about the idea that you are creator conscious. Why do you consciousness in a human body, that our purpose is to create? What do you think our purpose is? I'd love to hear, and can't wait for our next Facebook Live on Monday, this coming Monday at 11:11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8:11 Pacific, and I believe that will be 4:11 in Europe, and really late at night in Australia for all of our Australia friends. Okay, guys, love you, and love you, Tom. Hi, Carrie. Big hugs all the way around, everyone. Mwah.